I get it. You've been scrolling through a sea of gaming laptops, and the price tag on the HP Omen 16-inch model makes you pause. You're wondering if that extra money really buys you something you'll notice when you fire up the latest releases, or if you're just paying for a badge. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks testing the machine, swapping it in and out of my home office, my couch setup, and even a cramped dorm room. So let's break down whether this rig lives up to the hype or if you'd be better off looking elsewhere. First off, the thing that most people don't talk about until they actually plug the laptop into a game is how the 16-inch WQXGA screen handles everyday tasks. The 25601600 resolution is crisp enough that text feels sharp for coding, spreadsheets, or binge watching. And the 165Hz refresh rate isn't just a marketing number, it genuinely smooths the motion in fast-paced shooters. I tried a 30-minute session of Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 on ultra settings, and the frame count stayed solidly above 100 frames per second, which meant I could actually see the difference between 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second in the peripheral vision. That same screen was also surprisingly helpful when I switched to video editing in DaVinci Resolve. The extra vertical real estate let me see more of the timeline without zooming in and out constantly. The heart of this machine is the Ryzen 9 8940HX paired with the RTX 5070. On paper that sounds like overkill for most gamers, but the way the CPU and GPU share the thermal budget is worth mentioning. HP's Omen Tempest cooling system uses a larger heat pipe array and a dual-fan design that, in my experience, kept temperatures under 85°C even when the laptop was pushing 120 watts on the GPU during a Cyberpunk 2077 stress test. The fan curve was a little aggressive at the start, producing a noticeable whine in quiet rooms, but once it settled into the higher load range, the noise dropped to a manageable hum. If you're planning to game in a shared apartment, that initial fan chatter might be a small compromise, but it's nothing that ruins the experience. Memory and storage are often the hidden cost drivers, and the Omen ships with 32 GB of DDR5 RAM and a 1 TB SSD. I ran several instances of World of Warcraft alongside Photoshop, and the system never hit a memory bottleneck. Swapping was essentially non-existent. The SSD's NVMe interface gave me sub-second load times for large game worlds, and when I transferred a 100 GB video project, the copy speed hovered around 2.5 GB per second, which is in line with high-end consumer drives. The real benefit shows up if you like to keep multiple large games installed. There's enough room for at least 3 AAA titles at max settings without having to juggle space. Now, let's talk about ports, because that's where a lot of laptops either impress or disappoint. The Omen gives you a USB-C that supports both DisplayPort and power delivery, 3 USB-A ports, an HDMI 2.1, and a headphone/mic combo. I set up a dual-monitor rig using the HDMI 2.1 to drive a 4K TV at 60 Hz, and the laptop handled the extra bandwidth without any hiccups. The USB-C also let me charge the machine while playing, which is a small convenience that saves you from hunting for an extra power brick. If you're a streamer who relies on external capture cards, those USB-A ports are a relief. No need for a dock in most cases. Who should consider this laptop? If you're a serious gamer who also dabbles in content creation, think video editing, 3D rendering, or streaming, this is one of the few notebooks that can actually juggle those workloads without throttling. The combination of a high refresh display, a top-tier CPU, and a strong GPU makes it a solid all-rounder for people who want to run Elden Ring at 1440p, 120 frames per second, while also having enough horsepower to encode video in real time. It's also a good fit for students in graphic design or engineering programs where the software can take advantage of the extra cores and fast storage. On the flip side, if your gaming routine is limited to older titles or you're comfortable playing at 1080p on a lower-end laptop, the Omen's price might feel excessive. The chassis is fairly thick, about 2.3 inches, so it's not the most portable option for frequent travel. The initial fan noise could be a distraction in a library or a quiet bedroom, and the battery life is modest, I got roughly 4 hours of mixed usage before needing to plug back in, which is typical for a high-performance machine but still a factor if you expect long sessions away from a wall socket. One nuance that isn't obvious until you actually use the keyboard is the 4-zone RGB layout. It's not just for show. The zones can be programmed to light up in response to in-game events or to indicate system temperature thresholds. I set the WASD keys to glow brighter when the GPU temperature crossed 80°C, which gave me a subtle visual.